Why? Let me just add one thing here. How do you explain this overreaction to some small boats ostensibly carrying drugs from Venezuela? Okay. Well, I've been around a while, and I remember when the Marine barracks in Beirut was blown up, with something like 241 Marines killed. Okay. Now, that was a big black eye. And Reagan finally, after using battleships to shell the Bekaa Valley, for God's sake, finally said, "No, we're bit off more than we could chew. We're getting the hell out of here." Okay, but they had to appear to be strong, and so what did they do? They launched an attack on Grenada. Grenada? Yeah, no, not Grenada. Grenada, little little island in the Caribbean. Now, what about Grenada? Oh well, we had medical students studying there, and there was some leftist influence there, and they might take them hostage. Okay, and so we have to do something about that. And Weinberger and the rest of them said, "We're sending the 82nd Airborne. We'll have a victory there. We can really pump our chest and say, well, that may have happened in Beirut, but we got Grenada, and there's no leftists or Fidel Castro followers left at Grenada to kidnap or kind of get our medical students." So I know that because I was there, right? I was dealing with those people. They knew there was no threat from Grenada. So what's the comparison? Well, we had to show something really strong when there was display of how the power in this world had shifted to Beijing. Okay,
Mm.
my God, you know, not just the parades, but all these people and China and India now, and most of the people in the world, and people just thumbing their nose at the West and saying, "We got this taken care of. We got BRICS and Shanghai and all this stuff." Well, there was a and Trump couldn't get himself invited, or just it was going real sour. So, in my view, the head of Council of War says, "Anybody get an idea like Grenada? Anything we can divert attention to shows how strong we were." And my guess is they picked these boats. I shouldn't laugh at these people killed, right? Pick these boats off Venezuela just to show what we can do. That was murder. And those officers that authorized that thing are as guilty as uh, whatever his name, Hexep, who ordered it, because that's clearly an act of war. No act of war like that is justified.
No, but so your interpretation is that this is a show of force out of desperation because it's going down in Europe and the maybe also in West Asia. The war with Iran didn't. I mean, Iran was not defeated, right? This was another blow in the face of the planning, especially in Israel, right? And so is this, but this can still all go horribly wrong, right? Maybe there will be an invasion of Venezuela. I mean, who knows? Maybe there will be, like, especially missile strikes. We now know what missiles can do and drones can do, and, like, 2-year bombardment of Caracas. I mean, isn't that on the menu?
You're absolutely right to raise that. Venezuela, people say, has the richest deposits of oil and gas in any place in the world. That has to factor into this. Now, there's been a whole decade of trying to dislodge the Venezuelan leaders have been freely elected by their people. And who was that? I guess Maduro. They actually sent a drone up to take a shot at him when he was making a public speech about 5 years ago. So, yeah, they're out to get him and out to stir up a revolution there. So, I don't know if that's in the cards. Trump has enough on his plate now. What I think we should just say, emphasize is Iran, like you did. Now, Iran, all of my educated colleagues who know a lot bit more about Iran and Israel than I do say that an Israeli strike on Iran is well nigh inevitable soon. And I'm saying to myself, my God, are the Israelis that crazy? Because Iran has shown its capability with all their hypersonic missiles to destroy Israel. In other words, Iran has a deterrent. Are all these fancy air defense radars and everything going to work? No, they didn't. How do I know that? Because they didn't before. Okay. That's why Netanyahu asked Trump to say, well, let's have a ceasefire here quick because we're taking it on the chin. Not much is made. What happened to Israeli airfields and other key facilities during that exchange? So I'm saying to myself, my goodness, this would be a major war. And number one, would the U.S. be roped into this as Netanyahu was unable to do once recently? I don't know, but they have a lot on. Well, uh, in other words, really hard to predict whether our president could stand up to Netanyahu. What he could do now is say, don't even do it. Don't even do it. Because if I were Trump, I would say, look, this is going to happen. You're going to suffer retaliatory blows that you never suffered before. And then you're going to be faced with the possibility of being in extremis and having to use one of your nuclear weapons. And we don't want you to be in that kind of position, okay? Because we think you probably would, and we don't want that. So here it is. Don't do it. Now, I think, and this is not only my guess, there's evidence for this now. I think Trump is on various Epstein lists. I think Netanyahu has chapter and verse blackmail material. Let's just say it on Trump. I think that's an additional impediment for Trump defying Netanyahu. Whether that's true or not, uh, Trump shows no inclination to say no to Netanyahu. If my friends are right, if there's an Iranian attack or Israeli attack on Iran, uh, the Iranians are going to retaliate as never before. They have Russia and China and the rest of BRICS. Iran is a member of BRICS now, supporting them. And the danger of a wider war is very, very great. And even more immediately, we have the danger of Netanyahu being in extremis and say, oh, what do I do now? Even the U.S. can't bail me out. Well, I know what I do. I'll pull the temple down around me like Samson did, the Samson option, right? And I just won't let them, we'll let them prevail. And that way, not only do I not lose, but I stay out of jail. I mean, personal considerations enter into this because as soon as Netanyahu is not prime minister anymore, he's in jail. There are five suits against him, three of them quite airtight, and they have a bridal suite in one of the jails in Tel Aviv, all ready for Mr. and Mrs. Netanyahu. If he is dislodged, I hate to say that personal considerations like this would help justify genocide, forced starvation, and the possibility of using a nuclear weapon. But how else are you going to read Mr. Netanyahu?